So I was talking to my girlfriend yesterday, and basically what she told me is that
I guarantee you that there's literally no way that you can make a whole email marketing system in 4 hours.
now I've literally spent 10,000 hours inside of Klaviyo over the last few years. So if there's one thing that I'm extremely confident in, it's my ability to create a money-making machine for literally any brand on earth. It's currently 5:41 p.m. So if I'm giving myself 4 hours, then I should be done by just under 9:45. So with that said, let's get into it right away. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is hop into our test Klaviyo account over here. And for this exercise, the brand that I'm going to be trying to create this system for, as just a reference and a sample, is gonna be Gatorade. Now, what goes into actually building an email marketing system? There's 3 components. Number 1, we need to grow our email list. So in order to have a system that's able to generate revenue from email marketing at all, we need to have people to send emails to. So the first thing that we're gonna do is set up a great pop-up form in order to convert as much of the website traffic that's currently going to Gatorade's website so that we can get their email address, their phone number, and get them into our funnel or our system efficiently. All right, so the clock is running. I'm gonna go ahead and go to sign up forms within Klaviyo. I'm gonna click on create form. For the sake of efficiency, I'm gonna go ahead and choose a template. So this is a good template over here. Gonna call this Gatorade pop-up form. And now we need to choose our email list. By default, Klaviyo creates a list called newsletter when you create your account. So I'm just gonna go ahead and choose the default list right there. So what we're gonna do now is go ahead and customize this for Gatorade. So we got Gatorade's brand colors right over here. So we got their classic orange, and then they just have white and black. And then what we're gonna do is we're going to have our text be orange. We're gonna go ahead and make this black just so it stands out super clearly. And then for the buttons, we can go ahead and have our orange as the button background right over here. And then over here for the no thanks, let me go ahead and just actually make this transparent. Now for Gatorade, the $20 off might not be the best offer. So what I would suggest, just because it's safe for every brand in terms of margins, is we're gonna go with get 10% off. This is typically a really strong offer to drive high opt-in rates on our pop-up forms. Works well for most brands. I'm going to change out the image with a strong image that we can use for Gatorade. What we can do to make this even stronger is actually just add in the Gatorade logo. Once someone clicks claim 10% off, we're gonna take them to the email opt-in page. And now over here, we can go ahead and use the same image right here. So that get 10% off works over here as well. We're gonna use the exact same color. And then we're going to just have the email opt-in over here. And because they've already committed to wanting that 10% off, they're gonna be really likely to put in their email right here. Now, I know we're talking about building an email marketing system, but just because there is so much revenue left on the table from brands not collecting SMS phone numbers as well, we just wanna make sure we're collecting SMS for Gatorade here too. We have our legal disclosure language right over here. We're asking for their phone number. They're gonna claim the offer. And then on the success page, we're just going to say, thank you, check your email. And then we have our button to actually take them to their inbox right away, or they can stay on the site and keep shopping. Just like that, we have our pop-up form set up. We got the micro commitment page. We got the email opt-in. We have SMS opt-in. And now we have our success message. So the next thing we have to do is set up our first automation, which is gonna be our welcome flow, in order to give them that code so that they can go and shop with 10% off, and then also educate them on exactly why they should be buying from Gatorade and not be buying any of the other competitors in the market. So I'm gonna go ahead and navigate to flows over here. You can see we have no flows set up for Gatorade right now. So we're gonna build the first automation in our system, build your own. Let's call this welcome series Gatorade, and we can click create flow. So people are going to go into our newsletter list, which is what we specified in the pop-up form. So what we're gonna do is click added to list, and we're gonna click newsletter right here. And then we're gonna click on confirm and save. Just gonna add this profile filter to make sure that we're only sending emails in our welcome series to people who haven't already placed an order. So I'm gonna say, what has someone done? Placed order 0 times since starting this flow. So as soon as someone signs up for the form now, this automation is going to get triggered. And what that means is we need to send them an email with their code. And now we have to talk about what is actually going to be in our emails. All right, so here in this Figma file, we have our templates for how to create really high converting emails. So if we look at our first welcome email right here, we wanna make sure that we're thanking new subscribers for subscribing. We have a good image here that really sells the brand and makes them wanna purchase. Then we wanna give them their code, remind them of their offer. And then we basically want to do a little more selling here. After this, we're gonna going to move into additional emails in our welcome series. And this is a really, really important part of the system because this is what's going to nurture new subscribers to really bring them into the brand, understand why they should be buying. And if we nail this and do it right, then all of the other parts of the system are going to fall into place, and it's going to allow for much easier conversions from the other parts of the system. So we need to go ahead and create these emails for Gatorade. And I'm going to open up our custom GPT that we created at Dispatch in order to efficiently create extremely solid strategy for every single e-commerce brand. So what I'm going to say is give me a welcome series outline for the brand Gatorade. Now, if you want to get this custom GPT, the link is in the description, and you're going to see how easy this is to use. All right, so we have our welcome series outline, and you can see this actually pairs up really well with the templates. So at the bottom here, we can see that the GPT is asking some follow-up last question. So is Gatorade offering any welcome discount? So after I put in that Gatorade has a 10% off the first order, you can see that it now updated the welcome email. So I'm going to follow up and just say, give me the copy for each welcome series email. All right, so now that we have our copy that looks great, we need to go back into Figma and we actually need to design our first welcome email. So I'm back in Figma and I'm gonna take our template that we have here for our first welcome email. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this and simply just paste it right over here so that we could start working on it right now. And in this file, because I'm feeling very generous, you can actually get this in the link in the description as well. So let's go ahead and get our Gatorade creative in action here. So I've got the Gatorade logo right over here. So there we go. We have our logo in place and now we have our header. So I'm going to go ahead and just swap between ChatGPT here and Figma in order to get the copy. So let's go ahead and plug our header in here. So we have welcome to the Fuel Squad. And this is going to be overlaid on top of an image. We want a good lifestyle image here that's just really going to help sell the brand. So I'm going to place this right over here. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to add a little overlay over here just to make the text stand out. All right, and just like that, we have a super clean hero image right over here. So we have welcome to the Fuel Squad, and then we're gonna go ahead and put this in as our body copy right over here. And then let's go ahead and put the code in. So we wanna make it super efficient for everyone to find their welcome code. We wanna make sure that our branding is just very consistent throughout the funnel. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this over here, and then we can have this be black to really stand out. So our code over here is gonna be welcome 10. Over here, we're going to have for 10% off your first purchase. And then our CTA is just going to be shop now and save 10%. For our module 3, we want to have our product category overview. So I'll go ahead and swap in our header over here with what's your fuel. We're gonna have our body copy right underneath. So I'm just gonna paste this in for the formatting. And then let's pull this in from ChatGPT. And just like that, we have our module 2 getting up and ready. For our header over here, I'm gonna go ahead and use the same font that we had over here. We want to make sure that the email is really scannable, and the easiest way to do that is just have really clear headers, all formatted the same way. All right, so the first one is going to be hydration over here. So we're going to take a product image from Gatorade's hydration page. Now, instead of including the collection name, it's actually going to be way cleaner if we just use the collection name in the CTA over here. Then the next thing we want is electrolytes. Energy is going to be chews and bars. All right, and just like that, we have our second module done. So now just when it comes to the footer, we're just gonna wanna make sure that this looks clean and on brand. And just like that, we have our first email for Gatorade. All right, now the final step here is actually building this email inside of Klaviyo. So what I'm gonna do is slice this up, and this is how we're gonna get this from beautiful email inside of Figma into an email ready to be sent inside of Klaviyo. So we have our slicing tool right over here. Just created the first slice of the logo. We're gonna create the second slice right over here. We wanna create a new slice every time there's a new element and a new message involved. All right, so now that we have our email completely sliced over here, I'm gonna go ahead and export all of these slices. So I'm just gonna hit Shift on all of these, select these all. I'm gonna hit export right over here. I wanna export these in high resolution, and I'm gonna export these as JPEGs. So now I'm going back to our welcome series, and I'm going to go ahead and click select template over here. What I'm going to do is click on create right over here. And we're gonna go ahead and build this using purely image slices right over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag our first image slice in, select image, and now we're gonna just upload all of our slices from Figma. And just like that, we have our email. So we're actually gonna have our footer be built directly in Klaviyo because it's gonna appear much better. Now, the last step here would just be to add all of the links in the link address. We'd add in all of the alt text to make sure that the email is optimized for deliverability and accessibility. And then we would simply be complete here. Now, to just wrap this up, we can put in the subject line for our first email right over here and our preview text right over here. And then we can go ahead and click save. Now, here's how I'm gonna build out the rest of the welcome series as per our efficient system right here. So what we're gonna do is add in a time delay over here. This is gonna be 1 day, and each day after someone signs up, we want them to receive that next email that's just gonna push them further down the funnel with more education that's gonna nurture them towards their first purchase. So this is gonna be email 2, and like we saw, this is gonna be the choose the right fuel email. And when it comes to setting up the email, we can go ahead and just use the exact same templates. We actually have a nice base template we can use now, so it's gonna be even easier to create those next emails. And that's exactly how I would go about creating the creative for each of these additional emails. So we're gonna go ahead and add in another time delay here. So I'm gonna go ahead and build out the rest of our welcome series right here for Gatorade. All right, so now we have our entire welcome series set up. We have all of the copy that's gonna be in each and every one of these emails. The copy is extremely strong. And the last step would just be building these out in our Figma templates and bringing them in and setting live. Now, the next part of our system is gonna be our abandonment flows. So anyone who's coming to Gatorade's website, adding something to their cart and abandoning, we need to be recovering. So let's go back to our dispatch strategist GPT for flows. Now I'm gonna ask it to develop an abandoned cart outline for Gatorade. And the goal for our abandoned cart flow for Gatorade is going to be to efficiently remind subscribers why they should be buying from Gatorade. So our nurture flow is doing that to a deeper extent. So we're getting the flow trigger here. So we're gonna build this out in Klaviyo in a minute. And essentially now we have our logic. So we're gonna have 2 branches. We're gonna have a branch for prospects and a branch for existing customers. So let's go ahead and generate all of the copy. Now, while the copy is being generated, I'm gonna go ahead and build our Gatorade flow. So this is gonna be abandoned checkout Gatorade. So the metric that's gonna trigger this is gonna be checkout started metric. So whenever starts a checkout on Gatorade store, that's gonna trigger this flow. We're gonna make sure that we have our placed order 0 times filter in here. So if someone does place an order, we can't have them going through our abandoned cart flow. So we're gonna make sure we're saying placed order 0 times since starting this flow. Save. And now we can have our first time delay. So we can say that this is gonna be 30 minutes after someone abandons their checkout. We wanna send this. This is gonna be heavily A/B tested for every brand that we work with, but just as a default, we are going to set this to 30 minutes. And then we're gonna have our conditional split in here, where we're basically gonna try and understand, has someone placed an order or not before? So this is gonna determine, are they a prospect who's never bought before, or are they a returning customer? So we're gonna say, what has someone done or not done? And we're gonna say placed order 0 times over all time. And here we know that if someone has placed an order 0 times over all time, they're a prospect. So that means the first email they're going to get is our email number 1 for prospects. And then we're gonna have our email number 1 for existing customers as well. After someone abandons their checkout for the next 2-3 days, we want email going out every single day. So this is gonna be email number 2 for prospects. And then we're gonna have a 3rd email for our prospects. So if we go back to ChatGPT, all of our copy is completed for the abandoned cart flow. And all we have to do is simply go into Figma, build out these emails, and then set this flow live. All right, so now that we have the infrastructure for our abandoned checkout flow, we wanna make sure that we have an abandoned cart flow as well. So this is super important. We wanna make sure that we're hitting people not only who start a checkout, but also those who actually just add something to cart and don't complete their checkout. All right, now because I'm not actually connected to Gatorade Shopify store, I don't have the added to cart metric over here in order to actually complete this. And if I did have this metric, essentially we would just put in the added to cart metric as the trigger right here in order to achieve this abandoned cart flow. All right, so after abandoned cart and abandoned checkout, the next flow we absolutely need is our browse abandonment flow. Our browse abandonment flow is gonna be able to retarget anyone who viewed a product page but didn't take the next step of actually adding something to cart or starting a checkout. So these people are a little higher up in the funnel, but absolutely need to be retargeted as well. So in our dispatch strategist custom GPT for flows, I'm gonna ask to generate a browse abandonment flow outline. So while this is cooking, we can go ahead and actually clone our abandoned checkout flow. So I'm gonna call this our browse abandonment flow. We'll click continue. And this metric we do have, so this is gonna be our viewed product metric. So I'll click into it, and then on the infrastructure side to get the system set up, we are going to go ahead, add in our profile filter. So we're saying place orders 0 times, but we're also going to have to say that they've started checkout 0 times, because we only want people going into this flow who did not move down the funnel and add something to cart or start a checkout since they viewed a product page. All right, so we have our logic here. Again, we wanna branch this between prospects and existing customers. There's fundamentally different objections. So the goal for prospects is to educate, build trust, drive that first purchase, including the incentive, the discount. And then for existing customers, this is basically if someone has placed an order at least once overall time, we want to nudge them towards their next conversion based on their past interest. So we don't need to include a discount. We just need to speak to the fact that they need more Gatorade and why. So this all looks good. Of course, we'd be analyzing this a lot more if we were working on this for a real client. This GPT knows exactly how we build our flows, and this is looking very good and it's going to generate a ton of revenue. So I'm going to ask it to generate all the copy for the flow. And per our strategy outline, we're gonna have one email distinct for prospects and existing customers. And then we're going to have just 2 emails in the flow. So basically we only want each person to get 2 emails max. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add this second email over here, email number 2. For existing customers. Now, we do want a longer time delay for our browse abandonment flow because they're higher up in the funnel. We want to give them more time to potentially continue shopping, add something to cart, start a checkout. So we can start with 2 hours here. Now, if we go back to our custom GPT, we can see absolutely all of the copy is ready. We can go ahead and plug that into our Figma templates for Gatorade and then get it built out in Klaviyo, and we're all set. The next flow is going to be our post-purchase flow. So because I'm racing against the clock, I'm going to actually go ahead and use a Klaviyo template here for the flow. This is going to be a post-purchase follow-up. We want to be splitting our post-purchase flow between first-time purchasers and returning customers. So this template, which I've used before, is actually going to do a great job at doing this. We're going to remove this time delay specifically. I never advise anyone to use a delay until a specific time of day. It really doesn't make sense. The only thing you know about a customer or a subscriber in terms of their shopping behavior and when they're online and when you should want to send an email is the exact time that they perform their last action. So if someone placed an order yesterday at 10 p.m., then they're probably usually shopping at 10 p.m., probably online on their phone at 10 p.m. So it doesn't really make sense to set like a 9 a.m. time delay at that point. Now over here, we're gonna have a 1-day time delay in place. And now we can get into our strategy. So let's go back to our GPT, which is trained on all of our core flows. And we're gonna ask it for a generate strategy outline for post-purchase flow. Again, this GPT is trained on all of our dispatch frameworks, so this is gonna come out exactly like we want it. So for larger brands with more resources and more than 4 hours, you might wanna build this out to be based on second order, third order, fourth order. For most smaller brands, what you're gonna be fine with is a first time branch and then a all returning customer branch. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and simply delete this conditional split over here. I'm gonna delete the no path. And what that means is we're either gonna have =1 first time purchase or no, which is gonna be all repeat purchasers. So email 1 over here, we have a thank you message, a summary of what they ordered, and then what to expect next. In email 2, we're gonna have our product education and usage tips. Email 3, we wanna request a review. So hopefully they're loving their product at this point and are ready to give us a 5-star review. Email 4 is gonna be cross-selling based on a purchase. All right, now for email 5, this is our social proof and community email. So this is actually a really good idea from the GPT here, and essentially, we just want to reinforce Gatorade's credibility and connect emotionally to these customers, both new and old. So I'm really happy with this strategy, and now we can have the GPT generate all of our copy for the flow. Now, while the copy is generating, we can go ahead and build out the flow infrastructure. So essentially, we're just going to go ahead and create these 5 emails for each branch over here. So time delays for Gatorade, this can be 3 days before the second email. We can have 5 days here before the third email. We can have another 5 days for the fourth email. Call this new customer. Email number 1, email number 2, email number 3, email number 4, and then email number 5 is going to be our last one in the flow. All right, and now we have all of our copy generated for our post-purchase flow. So this copy's looking great, and we now have 4 of our flows done. So on the automation side, these are really the 4 or 5 core automated flows that we need for our email marketing system. And then the final part of an email marketing system that we have to tackle for Gatorade right now is the campaigns infrastructure. So outside of your triggered automated flows, every single brand needs to be sending campaigns at a regular cadence in order to stay top of mind and obviously promote any new product launches, any sales that are coming up, anything else that the brand has to talk about. And you need to be sending campaigns consistently. So in order to do that, number 1, we need to set up our segments that are going to be used to send campaigns. And then number 2, we actually need a campaign calendar, and we need to figure out what types of campaigns we should actually be sending for Gatorade. So to keep it simple, we're going to set up our basic segments right here. So the segments that we need to set up are 90-day engaged prospect segment, which is going to be anyone who has opened an email at least once in the last 90 days. The reason why we're including this criteria is to protect our deliverability. So we're going to say anyone who's opened an email at least once in the last 90 days or clicked an email at least once in the last 90 days. And then what we're also going to say is or has been active on site. And then the last thing I'm going to do here is say, and this person is a prospect. So they've never placed an order before. So we're simply just going to say placed order 0 times over all time. So I'm gonna go ahead and create this segment. And then what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna clone this, gonna call this 90-day existing customers. And we're just gonna change this to placed order at least once over all time. And this is gonna represent anyone who is an existing customer who's placed an order before. All right, now what types of campaigns should Gatorade be sending? In order to answer that question, we need to understand what Gatorade customers and subscribers actually care about. Now, in order to figure this out, I'm gonna go into our dispatch campaign strategist GPT. So before I ask the GPT to actually build out a campaign calendar, which we're gonna need, I'm just gonna simply ask it to define some content buckets that would work for Gatorade. So give me different campaign content buckets for the brand Gatorade. So now it's referring to all of the knowledge that we have put into the GPT. I'll include the link to this GPT in the description of this video as well so that you can get it. So while so many brands are only sending campaigns when they basically have something new to talk about, like a sale or a new product launch, here's what we're going to be sending for Gatorade. We're going to build our campaign calendar off of these different buckets. So performance fuel launches and spotlight. So anytime there's a new product release, of course, we want to talk about that. Anything that's seasonal or limited edition flavors, and then any spotlight on functional benefits. So this is a super evergreen type of campaign that we could send literally every single week. So right now it's summer. You obviously need to be staying hydrated. So we can send a campaign that's specifically focused on why you need to stay hydrated, how hydration actually works in your body, what types of benefits being hydrated gives you as an athlete. And then here's the beauty of our campaign strategy at Dispatch is while we're talking about all of those benefits of hydration, we can easily tie in tastefully how Gatorade is the perfect product to help you stay hydrated. The next content bucket is gonna be athlete-driven inspiration. The next is hydration education, so when and why to hydrate. Exclusive bundles and offers, so it's summer right now, showing a summer heat survival pack where we can basically just take a bunch of SKUs, create a pack on Shopify, and then push that. Sports-specific campaigns, tailored messaging for runners, weightlifters, team sports, cyclists. Each of these can be a different campaign that's aimed at a certain part of the demo and how Gatorade can fit into their training routine and their lifestyle. Post-workout recovery, seasonal and lifestyle integrations, back to school fitness prep, summer training campaigns, New Year performance goals, and then community and UGC, so customer testimonials, athlete shoutouts, any user-generated contest. So a ton of brands look at email marketing in a silo and they don't actually think about how like their organic social or their paid media can tie into email. And creating a really good email marketing system means making sure that it is integrated with the rest of your channels. So I'm completely aligned with all of these content buckets. And now basically what we can do, it's July 21st. We're going to need a campaign calendar for August to make sure that Gatorade is sending campaigns consistently. So let's go ahead and ask our campaign strategist GPT to develop a campaign calendar for August. Generate a campaign calendar for August 2025. And I'm just going to say, we want to send consistently. So I'm going to say 12 campaigns, 3 per week. all emails, because if we don't say all emails, it might factor in SMS as well. So the GPT is actually asking us a bunch of questions to just really make sure that for August specifically, this is going to be tailored to the brand's goals, anything that's happening that they should know about. Now, while I highly suggest answering all of these questions, if you do not have the time or you just want to see what this looks like without it, you can just tell the GPT to generate calendar without that info. So here is our calendar for August, where we're going to be able to send consistent, good campaigns. That's going to allow us to stay top of mind with all of our engaged subscribers. All right, so because the strategy looked great, I asked GPT to go ahead and write all of the copy for these campaigns. And we can see that now for Gatorade for August 2025, we literally have all of the copy for every single one of our campaigns that I can guarantee you is going to generate more revenue than the campaigns they're sending right now. So now all it's left to do is simply get all of this completed copy over to our designer, get all of this design done in our Figma file, and then go over, build these out in Klaviyo and schedule them. And just like that, we are done. We completed our $1 million email marketing system. Now, what actually makes this a $1 million email marketing system? Ultimately, some people in this space might try and convince you that you need all of these different bells and whistles, you need 100 different flows, you need 100 different pop-up forms, when in reality, after building over 30 multi-million-dollar email marketing systems, I can tell you with 100% certainty that all you need to do is build out the basics properly and optimize. So every month, all your focus needs to be on improving on these basics. And then on the campaign side of things, sending campaigns consistently, never missing a week, and looking at the data to make sure you're doubling down on what's driving the most conversions and cutting out what isn't. So if you're getting these fundamentals set up and optimizing them every month, that is what a multi-million-dollar email marketing system for your brand looks like. And the only reason I was able to do this in 3 hours is because I've done this for the last few years, generating over $50 million for our brand partners. So yes, I did get the system built out, but to be honest, and you probably noticed it, just because of the nature of this video and the time crunch I was under, I wasn't really able to go into too much depth on the designs of the email themselves and what actually matters when it comes to designing emails that convert. So click right here to head over to the next video where I give you a full walkthrough on designing high converting emails for your brand, because ultimately I can promise you it's one of the most valuable skills that you can bring into your brand if you want to generate more email marketing revenue for your e-commerce store starting today.